Now, I've got to ask the question as well. I'm sure you've done so many of these different RCM implementations. Some, it sounds like, have done tremendously well for the companies. Where do people most commonly struggle with RCM implementations?
Yeah, they try to take on too much at once, right? And that's why I say I struggle with, okay, I don't want to come back until you got 80% implemented. They'll look at that implementation and they'll see, let's see, we talked about failure modes on 85 to 100 components, and we came up with, a couple hundred failure modes and 300 different tasks. Holy smokes, we're never going to get all that done. And that's one of the first things that I did with my new database is say, how can I export this and get it into Excel format that they can sort this and realize that, out of those 300 tasks, gee, here's a chunk of the first 25 of the exact same task written over again, because we're talking about machine manufacturing or filling jugs of something. Six motors, 6 gearboxes, 6 VFDs, right? They're going to have pretty close to the same task if we're talking about the same size motor and the same failure rate and so on, right? It's not that we just copy paste everything, but anything that's similar. So we sort by, number one, let's look at what's our most critical in terms of failure modes. We look at probability and consequence, and then that determines a criticality. So we have criticality for the tasks, and we look at, let's do the priority ones first, and we'll sort those, and which ones are identical, which ones are PMs, which ones are on condition tasks, which ones are failure findings. And I tell them it's not that difficult once you learn how to sort and go through that. And that's, sometimes I'll add a day on to what we're doing and saying, we can do this through home, through a teleconference like we're doing now, and I show them how to sort that worksheet, and here's how I would implement it. And I give them tips on that. Doing anything the first time often seems like it's, overwhelming or cumbersome. And when somebody that's got experience with you shows you, no, here's how you sort this to go. In reality, you've got a chunk of PMs, a chunk of on-condition tasks, a chunk of failure finding tasks, and a chunk of redesigns. Those first 3, and let's add operator care to that. So that first 4 are all things that can go into your CMMS system. Very simple, right? You just call them something different. So let's decide on what we're going to call them, who's going to do them, what the interval is. Now you've got a relationship, because I go back through and I use their hierarchy. Here's where it came from. Here's the parent. Here's the child. Those tasks are tied to this child, right? And I show them how that matches up, and they go, oh, wow, now we know why you wanted that download, right? Well, that's pretty neat. Now, what you've got left here are these redesigns. Now, which ones are ones that you can do simply out of a maintenance or operations budget, and which ones are going to require a management of change and some small capital, right? And here's how you sort those and who you assign them to, right? Now assign the people, put due dates on them, and let's get going. Now you're ready to start something else. Now, how long is it going to take you to do those 4 items that I showed you? And they go, oh crap, we could do that in a week if we put one person on it. There you go.
Yeah.
Right? And they'll say, why is it taking companies 6 months to do this? And I said, because most companies never show them how it's done, or they've never had experience themselves at actually doing it. So they can't show them.
Yeah.
Right.
So it sounds like it's a training thing. Once you do it once, you're like, okay, cool, I can do it. But essentially, if you've never done it before, and you're basically recreating what RCM is, and that recreating it can take, like you mentioned, months, years,
yeah.
Even. So what I hear from you, Doug, is, get started, get all the resources, get a consultant even to help you go through that process once. And once you do it once, then it's a whole lot easier the second, third, fourth, 10th time around.